Do you struggle to find answers to your pelvic health problems? Do you feel silenced in your quest to just feel better? Women, girls, sisters, if you have experienced infertility, PCOS, incontinence, painful periods, sexual trauma, and so much more associated with the pelvis, then Women's Pelvis Wellness is a place for you. Me and experts from around the world are joining here to get you the answers to the holistic health that you have been seeking. Please join us in being a pelvis wellness warrior. And welcome back to Women's Pelvis Wellness. Today I have a really special guest. Like I say that every time because they're all special. Savannah Blake is based in Athens, Alabama. And I've actually been to Athens, so that's kind of interesting. Savannah and I actually just met. We have one mutual friend on Facebook, and she hooked us up because Savannah you are a birth educator, and you just got your certification for a birth doula, and then COVID happening kind of shut everything down, so you haven't been able to really utilize that too much. But yeah, I'm just going to hand it over to you and just share with us about yourself and your journey.
Sure. So I'm Savannah. I am a certified birth doula, and even though I did just get my certification and make it official, I've been in this world of birth and pregnancy and postpartum and all of the things that go along with it for about 7 years now. Okay. It started, for one, I'm the type of person that just needs to know everything about everything that I am going through. So when me and my husband started trying to have kids, that's where I started researching and fell down the rabbit hole of birth and whatnot. And it's such a vast subject that I'm still learning things. 7 or 8 years later, still learning things.
And you probably will forever,
Oh yeah. Absolutely, especially with like developments and whatnot. But yeah, so I had my own experiences in the system with the OBs and our options. And, I saw parallels between the options that I found on the internet that were possible for some people, but, then they weren't available here. And then you get into the research of things of, for example, free birth is a thing and home birth is a thing. But where I live, none of that was an option because, for one, midwives were illegal in my state until 2 years ago. So that a home birth was never an option.
Which is ridiculous.
Isn't it?
A midwife is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was before we were in the hospitals? Who do you think helped us birth our babies?
Well, there's so much fear around birth, and a lot of that comes from, birth can be tragic. It can be. But it shouldn't be feared. It should be respected. Our bodies are made, they're literally designed to give birth. Right. So, and sure, that's not true universally for every single person, but right. For the vast majority of us, as long as we have the tools and knowledge available to us to help facilitate the process, most of us are going to be completely fine. And so, I just started seeing all these parallels between how things should be and how things actually are. And it got me really riled up because in a lot of instances, we're doing more harm than good right. in these regular common practice procedures. For just a quick example, the standard backlying position does more harm than good.
What is that?
And yet, the backlying position to push, to give birth and whatnot, they always want you, flat on your back with your feet up.
Lying. Okay, I thought you said back line, and I'm like, what is back line? Back lying. Okay, I get it. Yes, lying on your back when giving birth.
Yep.
Wrong.
Yeah. If if women were given the opportunity to listen to their bodies and move and get into the position that their bodies are telling them to get into,
Right.
99% of them, and of course I just made that statistic up, but the vast majority of them are going to do on all fours, on their side, or standing or squatting,
Right.
because that just makes sense with gravity and the direction that the vagina goes in.
Well, right. I mean, when you're lying on your back, you're literally pushing against gravity
Yep. It's
every time.
just
I mean, it's just a
for
great
doctor
view.
conveniency.
It's a great view for the doctor because then they can see everything, right? Completely wrong position most of the time for us.
Yep. Yeah, but see, not only was I fighting the system to get what I wanted as a birthing person myself, but I had to fight all of my friends and family as well, because, there's so much misinformation out there and
Right.
so much fear that really most of it stems from media and entertainment. Every birthing
Oh
scene you
yeah.
see on a
Yeah,
movie or on a
they're
TV
screaming.
show. Yep, and it's like instant, and then they're rushing to the hospital. Everyone's freaking out. It's entertainment, so almost always something doesn't go as planned or something.
Right. Well,
So,
I don't when I was first pregnant with my son 15 years ago because he's 14. I read a book by Dr. Sears, and I know that there are several of them, and I don't remember which one. Um, but it was the dad of the Sears family. I don't know. Have you heard of them?
mm-mm.
Yeah, you should check him out. So, anyways, he's an OB, and his son is an OB. I think his wife was a nurse. They all kind of went into the pregnancy pediatric field. And he said in his book that I read when I was pregnant the first time, and of course I can't remember the name of it. I should really look that up. But he said that birth was ruined when men took it out of the homes, away from the mommies and the Grammies and the aunties, and put it in a hospital around men who know nothing about birth. He said that. And
I
it's
got chills
100,
when you said it.
yeah, I mean, it's
It's so true.
100% the truth. They don't, what do
Absolutely.
they know about? You know? I mean, when I was giving birth, my water had been broke for 14 hours. I had been on Pitocin for 12 hours, and I was dilated to 3. I wasn't allowed to go in the tub because my water was broken, and they didn't want anything to go inside the baby or go inside to get to the baby. And I wasn't allowed to squat because they were afraid I was going to push. And that's all I wanted to do.
Your body
And I
probably
never
needed
even
it.
dilated to 4 and ended up with a C-section for all 3 babies.
Yeah. They don't set us up for success.
No, no, they don't. Um, and I mean, when you do that, that they have us believe that we can't do it when
Hmm.
we absolutely 100% can do it when supported in the proper way. Um, medications always have a side effect, always have
Always.
a side effect. And, though in some instances that may be necessary to save a life, it is used much too often.
Yes.
And, what I do, working with the pelvis, working with postpartum C-section moms, when that area of our body is cut significantly and not ever rehabbed, we're going to end up with a lot more problems down the road in life
Hmm.
because of scar tissue, because organs are stuck together that shouldn't be. So, I mean, this isn't just, I'm bummed because I had to have surgical pictures instead of fun, beautiful home birthing pictures. This is like, am I going to have prolapse and incontinence when I'm 40, 50 years old? Or other much worse, things.
Oh yeah, we've been conditioned to believe that healthy mom and healthy baby, quote unquote, as in we survived with no immediate concerns, is our goal, when that should be our bottom line. That should just
Right,
be expected, but
right,
you leave the hospital and women feel like or parents feel like they can't complain because, well, at least I have a healthy baby. Yeah,
right.
but how traumatic was it for you? Do you have like nightmares and stuff? Are you dealing with physical problems that could have been prevented? Are you going
Right.
to have things that come up later in life? I mean, healthy mom, healthy baby should be our absolute minimum. And parents should know that if their birthing experience isn't as it should be, and when I say as it should be, yeah, things arise that you can't control. Yeah, there are surprises that happen sometime. But if you are completely supported the way you should be, okay, I've had obstetric abuse is a thing, and we have normalized it to where parents don't feel like they can complain. If you
Right.
feel like you were abused during the process, or if you feel like your needs weren't met like they needed to be, or if you felt like they didn't handle things how they should have, then you do absolutely have the right to complain, to say something, to raise your hand and be like, hey, this isn't right and it shouldn't keep happening. But most of the time we don't do that. We're like, well, at least my baby's alive, so
Yeah.
I should just hush and make the best of the situation.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, you know, you hire them. They're not in control of your health
Absolutely.
care. You are in control of your health care. You hire them. You hire them to do a job, right?
Hmm.
So they should be doing the job to your specifications. It's just like building a house. It
Yep.
literally is. If you don't like the job that they're doing, find someone else.
Yes.
Because you're running the show, you're the boss. This is what I tell my clients all the time, even just in a general massage. I know muscles, but you know your body. I can tell you it takes this much pressure to release this knot, but if it's too much pressure, then it's too much pressure. That's the way it goes. So we just hand our healthcare over to the white coats and and then we're done, and then we just kind of go through, and they don't know us. They don't know our bodies.
We're just on the conveyor belt of
Yeah.
what they're doing through the day. It's just, I mean, I don't want to say that they don't see us as people anymore, but I mean, I always think back to where I waited tables for 6 years, and there towards the last half of it, I didn't see people when I walked up to the table. I saw 4 heads that needed food. What food am I going to bring them? I didn't see who they were. I didn't see them as people. I mean, I didn't see them as not people, I mean, I
Yeah.
treated them like
As
everything else. But
individuals. Yeah.
yeah, it just like completely, you go on autopilot.
Well, and their hands are tied by insurance. Again,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
if you're in the medical field, if you're in the insurance-based medical field, healthcare system, your hands are tied by insurance. You can't go in there and really help people unless the insurance company says it's okay to help people. So
Hmm.
I have been approached at least by 6 different insurance companies over the last 2.5 years that have wanted me to sign up with them. And I said, no, because then you're going to tell me what I can and cannot charge, how many times I can see people for what specific ailments, what kind of therapies I can do with them, how much I'm going to get reimbursed. And then I have to renegotiate that every single year. No,
Hmm.
no. I
Okay,
opened
the
my
whole
own business so
system,
that I could be the boss. I don't want people telling me what to do.
right? The whole system goes deeper than just the hospital. It's absolutely starts with people who don't even have a clue about anything that's going on in healthcare. It's just,
Right.
money and the bottom line. And
Yeah.
well, I mean, most people seem to do okay with this. So this is the only thing we're going to let you do. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And I think, like we were mentioning earlier, there's just this whole, we've completely done a 180, and we need to do another 180 to get back to where
Hmm.
we were originally, but we need to support women. And this is the thing, if you choose not to have children, that is 100% okay.
Hmm.
And because we were talking about fertility, and it's like, we just have this whole aspect of, okay, you're a woman, you're going to grow up, you're going to get married, you're going to have children. Some women don't want that, and some women can't have that
Yeah.
for whatever medical reasons that they may happen. And that's the other thing too, is that maybe they can have that, but they just don't know which way to go, because fertility treatments are the only thing presented to them, like
Hmm.
mainstream medical, IVF, IUIs,
Which are
medication, lots
super
of
expensive.
shots.
and not covered
Very
by
expensive.
insurance.
It's very expensive. And again, medications have side effects,
Mm-hmm.
you know? I mean, there's a reason why babies who are born via IVF treatment statistically are not as healthy. And statistically, they have lower birth weights, they have a lower, they have a higher rate of, death. Like they'll say, the national average, I believe, is 26% that the IVF procedure will be successful. That just means you get pregnant. But there's only a 14% US average of actually having delivering a healthy birth full term. So there's a huge gap in there.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And it's related to medication.
I have a massage therapist who does reflexology for infertility.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool because I had never heard of such thing before. But like they're not, alternative methods aren't advertised. They
Right.
aren't put in front of us. If someone does hear about them, it's usually either through their own research, which means you have to be really motivated to and open-minded to find that kind of stuff, or through the grapevine, to which most people wave it off. But
Right.
a lot of cases, alternative methods can be more helpful
Right.
than the drugs.
Well, and I always tell people that's why I like the words collaborative and integrative, because doctors are amazing at what they do, and I can't do what doctors do. And doctors don't do what I do, and I'm amazing at what I do. So if we're really worried and the outcome is the greatest health of the patient or the client, then we should all be working together, bringing our expertise together, put our ego at the door and give them what they need, instead of saying my way is the right way and it's the only right way always, always. That's not the case, and it can never be. That's why, the integration, I mean, and it's more than just, me or you and the doctor, chiropractors, acupuncturists, nutritionists. I mean, we have to get the body healthy, the person, before we can worry about, trying to create a life and trying to sustain that life and trying to get that, life into the world and everybody be healthy. So we have to cultivate the garden so that we can have, the bountiful harvest.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so share with us just kind of, because I know that you've had some experiences and stuff, and if you want to share them, like specific clients or your own experiences, we'd love to hear.
Well, I can speak on my own experiences for sure. Might learn it into some legal stuff with clients, but
Well, no names, I mean, I talk about my clients all the time. I just never share names. So.
Well, like going back to what you said about how we're raised with the stigma of, as women, our job is to get married, have children, and cultivate that home, right? And a lot of us get stuck in that, and we don't really know how to move past that. And I absolutely have experience with that. I thought I was going to do one thing in life, and that didn't work out. And I was like, well, you know what? At least I'm a woman, so I have this to fall back on, so I can, have some kids, raise them good, and nobody will think bad or one way or another about me, right? And so it took us a really long time to get pregnant in the first place. And then when we did, we lost him at 15 weeks gestation. And I went into this deep depression of, well, I couldn't make that work, and now I can't make this work, so what can I do in life? And I absolutely agree that we need to get away from the stigma of that, and knowing that being a mother is not your only option, and it is not something that you should feel pressured into doing or feel like that's the only thing you can do or anything like that. Um, yeah, so that was my experience with that, for one. But you're also talking about how a midwife can facilitate the miscarriage process, which I thought was fascinating because I didn't have that option when I had my miscarriage. I went into the doctor's office. It was just a regular appointment on a regular day. Nothing was going on at all. They couldn't find a heartbeat, went and had an ultrasound and found that he had passed. So my doctor told me that my options were to either go home and hope that my body takes care of it, but that they didn't know how long he had been gone. So they didn't know if my body would take care of it, and that may land me in the hospital with a lot of problems. Or I could just leave there and go straight to the hospital, get an epidural, be induced, ta-da, and that was fine. I remember asking, I was like, well, how long do you think that would take? And he was like, just a few hours, which was, I don't know if that was just a terrible guesstimate or what, but I ended up being in the hospital for 3 days with an epidural that entire time because he had insisted, because it would be painful is what he said. And then at the end of it, I had to have a DNC on top of that, which is a surgery. So it was a very, very traumatic experience for me. On top of that, I had nurses that were rude to me and even mean to me. And then we made the decision on the drive to the hospital that we didn't want to see him. And because we already had that image, that was, our personal decision.
Well, I
We
was
already
going to
had,
say, you don't even have to explain it. That's what you
yeah, you're
decided.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't have to because that's your choice. Yep.
So we get to the hospital and they start the processes and everything. And the head nurse comes in and sits down with us. And we told them as soon as we got there, we told everybody, we're like, we don't want to see him. We don't want to see him. And, well, she comes and sits down and she's like, I just wanted to talk to you to see if you decided to see him or not. And we were like, no, we decided we don't want to. And well, she continues to go on and explain that if we did decide to see him, she just wanted us to be prepared for what we might see. And goes into deep detail. And I'm going to spare y'all
Yeah.
but it was traumatic. Just that
Yeah.
one conversation was traumatic. And
Right.
after we already insisted that we didn't want to, and because we were trying to save ourselves a little bit of, tragedy. And so, I went through, it was a very traumatic experience in my life.
Yeah.
And to know that there could have been other options, they need to know that there are other
Right.
options out there. You
Yeah.
can go home and you can have a midwife facilitate and be in the comfort of your own surroundings and your own loved ones who are caring for you and helping you
Right.
instead of, yeah.
Yeah. So the work that I do, the deep visceral work that I do, I mean, I can help a woman, I mean, if she's gone in, it's like, okay, the baby has passed and, you're going to pass. And this is the thing, your body will 100% take care of that. Like that. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. It's not going to happen in a day or two. I mean, it honestly might take a couple of weeks. It literally could, but your body is made to do that. And the work that I do can help facilitate that, the process and kind of get it going because it's such deep work. And so, yeah, I was sharing with Savannah that actually happened, with a client of mine um, during her second pregnancy. She did lose him and she 100% trusted her body and let the body take care of it. She called her midwife. The midwife came over and did some external pelvic work on her. And then, when she called to tell the midwife that, things were kind of progressing, she said it took about 3 hours, the whole birth process did. And, they had a beautiful little ceremony for him. They took a ton of pictures. She shared them with me, and I was very honored for her to share that experience with me. But, one thing I told her, I said, and it was a boy, and I said, he existed. He's here. He matters. Like it may have been a very short few weeks, but she was showing, she was feeling him already because, once you've had one, then you can feel everything sooner because you know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We don't talk about miscarriage and we don't talk about, infant death, enough. We don't talk about any female issues, which is why I have this
Yes.
And, you know, the thing is, it's terribly sad, terribly tragic, but it was also incredibly beautiful. And she did it the way she wanted to do it, you know, and it can be incredibly beautiful in the hospital setting. It can be. But you have to make sure that, you know, again, nobody should be being rude to you. Nobody should be abusive of you. Like you lost a child and now you have to deliver that child, and knowing,
Yep.
you know, and like that is a very sensitive thing. And if you cannot be a comforting person during that moment, then you are in the wrong line of work.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry that you had that experience.
Oh, thank you. You know, I believe that everything happens for a reason,
For
and
sure.
I have to, because, you know, it helps you reason things and find peace with things and whatnot. And we did have a happy ending. You know, I had a completely healthy 5-year-old boy and 2-year-old girl now. So, and their births, my first was just your standard epidural hospital birth, but my second, or my third, my daughter, hers was a all natural hospital birth. I stayed home as long as I possibly could. I had a doula. We went to the hospital at the very last minute, and she was born 45 minutes upon arrival. So it was a beautiful hospital birth. You know, that is absolutely possible. But if you, a lot of people just want to leave things to the system and leave things to the nurses and the doctors to facilitate, and just, you know, go here when they tell you to go here, move like this when they tell you to move like this. But if it takes a little bit of taking your own health and birth into your own hands, you know, taking responsibility for it, stepping up and being like, nah, I don't want to be on your conveyor belt. I
Mm.
want things that are like this. And, you know, with my son, it was the standard hospital birth. Everything went swimmingly. It was fine, you know,
Mm.
but I walked away with something missing, you know, and they handed me my child, and I was like, "Oh, okay. So this is that then." You know, you feel like especially
Yeah,
if
I
you've
mean, for
dreamt
me,
about being a mom,
yeah,
you
they're all
feel
cleaned off and they're all bundled up, and I mean, I didn't get any of that stuff, you know?
it's supposed to be magical, right? You're
Yeah.
supposed to feel this huge shift, and it's supposed to be life changing. And people tell you that it's you see your baby and you instantly fall in love, and you've never felt anything like it. And from my experience, I'm pretty sure people are lying when they say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're supposed to say, you know.
Right.
And that's what I said, you know, when after my son was born, I did not feel attached to him or remarkable at all for probably 6-ish or so months. And I could go into the theory behind epidurals with causing that. But you know, when people ask me, is are you just in love, and do you ever think you could love something so much? And I was just like, yeah, no, uh-huh, yeah,
I
that's
sure did about a year
exactly,
later.
yeah. But with my daughter, where I didn't have any medication interfering with the endorphins and all of the hormones and the chemicals and the love, the oxytocin, you know, it was love at first sight, and it was like an instant connection, and that still lasts today. And she's 2.5, you know, whereas my son, I love him, of course, but it's a different type of connection that
Yeah.
it's hard to explain unless you've understood. But I've talked to other people who understand completely
Yeah.
because they had that type of birth and then that type of birth, and they can relate to those feelings and
Yeah.
whatnot. After my daughter was born, I literally felt high on
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
for weeks, probably.
Well, and like I said, my experience was I had all three by C-section, and I can definitely say that for whatever reason, it did take me a little bit longer, I feel like, to bond with my daughter than
Mhm.
either of my boys. But I mean, not terribly long, you know, but it did feel a little bit different. But again, now that I am aware of what I'm aware of now, looking back at that, I totally know what that is. I totally
Mhm.
know that that was generational, inherited mother-daughter bullcrap. Like it
Yeah.
was it was energy. It had nothing to do with anything but an energy that I had inherited from both sides of my family, just back generations. And so that has been remedied now because I knew I had to do that because I
Yeah,
figured it
it's
out.
funny how your own mother-daughter relationships can heal your own mother-daughter relationships if you let them, if you allow them to. We can either repeat the patterns of
Right,
our generations or we can choose to break them. And I
right.
definitely experienced that as well with my own daughter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they're incredible little beings. Boys are too, obviously. They're my favorite. I just love them. They're so sweet. I'm biased though because they're mine. But
Yeah, I always said that I wanted boys because they loved their moms no matter what, so you don't have to try as hard.
yeah.
But I I was terrified to have a girl. Absolutely terrified because there wasn't a positive female relationship in my life ever. So
Right.
I was absolutely terrified. I was like, nothing I do is going to be good enough for her. She's never going to like me. We're never going to have a good
Oh,
bond. We're never going to have a really good relationship.
yeah.
But I came in and I was able to be the person for her that I always wished I had been.
Right.
And so we do have a bond now. And, they say daddy's girl and mama's boy. And I think both my kids gravitate towards me.
Yeah.
My son is mama's boy, obviously, but my girl, I have put so much into her, giving her what I always wish I had had
Right.
as growing up female, because we're stigmatized. We grow up, oh, you hit like a girl, oh, you run like a girl, oh, you whatever like a girl, which makes us think that being a girl is bad.
Right.
So a lot of us, I know I suppressed my femininity for
Oh,
ever, my whole life. I thought I was a tomboy until I had my daughter, and wow, I kind of do like dresses and pink. I didn't
yeah.
know
Yeah.
because I never gave myself the opportunity because I was always having to prove myself as good as the boys. But
Right. No, yeah, I hear that. That's what I would always say too, that I'm a tomboy. And part of it is just that for like 10 years, 5 years younger than me and 5 years older than me, those are where the girls are. So like all that I was just, all my boy cousins were my age. I either had girl cousins that were 5 years older or 5 years younger. So I just had boys to play with. So I just always thought I was a tomboy. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, as I get older and I'm more comfortable in my own body, I definitely am feeling much, much more feminine. And that's the whole point. That's
mhm,
like, we have to get to that. We have to, you know, we have to find our feminine power and
mhm,
be have a balanced masculine feminine energy within that feminine power instead of trying to be more man like. We're not men, we're not
absolutely.
supposed to be like men, so and however that feels to you, because I tell people all the time, like, there's always male female balance or imbalance in each individual person and in relationships, you know
Absolutely.
and it doesn't matter, like, you know your sexuality doesn't matter, and whatever pronoun you go by doesn't matter. There still has to be that masculine feminine balance, to have a healthy body,
Yeah,
physically.
for
Yeah.
sure. They say the energy addictions come from us trying to fill that gap, that balance.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's where
interesting.
like toxic relationships and
Right.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now? Because I know obviously, while COVID is on, you haven't been seeing patients personally or clients personally with the doula stuff, right?
Yeah, no. Well, if I have people come to me, then I talk to them, I help them how I can, all of that. But we'll do a birth plan, but hospitals aren't allowing us to come into the hospital just
Right.
yet. So we're kind of just sitting around and
Are you able to go to
fighting the
home
system.
births?
I'm sorry.
Are you able to go to home births?
If you can find one, like I said, midwives were illegal until 2 years ago.
So it's
So
still okay.
yeah, it's still super new. They've only just, even though it was legalized 2 years ago, it took them about a year of paperwork to settle everything. So people are
Right.
just now starting to look into that as an option, but a lot of people are still terrified of that as an option. So,
Well, and it's interesting because I follow a few celebrities that have had home births during this whole COVID thing, and I follow several doulas and midwives on social media, and they all had an increase in their business because nobody wanted to have their babies in the hospitals
right.
where all of this stuff was happening. So they saw a huge influx of clients wanting to birth at home.
Yeah.
Or in their birthing center.
I'm out in the country, so we don't have a whole.
I know, I can see the corn.
Yeah. it's a little different out here, and things are a lot slower paced to move. We're always the last to get the memo on things.
That's how I feel about central Wisconsin. I feel like everything's last. But there have been some birthing centers, popping up here more and more. So that's exciting.
It is.
Yeah, it is really exciting. I have a college classmate, and their first baby, was they have 4 kids. Their first baby was in the hospital, the episiotomy, the sewing up, the epidural, all of that stuff. The second one they had in a birthing center. The third one they had at home in a birth tub. And then the fourth one came so quick that the dad just took care of it, and then the midwife got there 45 minutes later, and then just kind of finished it off. But I mean, they were pros by then. And she just said that, it just got more and more beautiful. But I mean, if she had to do it over again, she would never deliver in a hospital.
Right. I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, that support. I mean, and I just remember even being pregnant and going to Lamaze classes. It was a joke. I remember nothing. I learned nothing.
Yeah.
It was kind of just a time for a bunch of pregnant ladies, to talk about being pregnant, and their husbands talking about how crazy their pregnant wives are. That was essentially what it was. I mean, the breathing was a joke, and they talk about different birthing positions, but then they don't let you do those birthing positions. So messed up.
It is. We have a lot to be desired still. We're working on it, and it'll get there. It's just a slow process. And thank you for having this podcast, because it gives us a chance to spread the message a little bit more, push it a little bit further. Every little bit helps, for sure.
Yeah. And, like I said, I think, the biggest thing is again, the collaboration and the integration. We all can play our part to give, to give our patients and our clients the best healthcare, to get them the healthiest.
What they deserve.
Absolutely, what we all deserve. But we all have to know our part. You know what I mean? We have to do our part, but we have to know our part, put down the ego, and, let's just kind of work together. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Savannah, do you want to let people know your business name and just kind of how to contact you if they wanted to? Because I know you're also a yoga instructor and you're a birth educator, so you can do some things virtually, right?
Yeah, I do confidence coaching as well. So
yeah,
which sounds completely separate from doula work, but
totally not.
It's totally the same. The only difference is confidence in birth, whereas confidence in other things. It's just a matter of where you are in your life. But you can find me at earthandwater.co. So .com was taken, but .co. And all my links are on there, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I'm everywhere. I'm super easy to get a hold of.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences and your thoughts with us today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me today on Women's Pelvis Wellness, where you can be heard. Because remember, if you're not being heard, you're not being helped. Please join my Facebook group by the same name, Women's Pelvis Wellness, and join a community of women who are there for you to support you, guide you, and love you through your pelvic health struggles. Also, this is a great place to check out my new class schedule. Thank you for joining me and becoming a pelvis wellness warrior.